Hey, fraud and audit, friends and family. Listen, today they weren't just after the money, they were after something far more fragile. So this week, we're going to follow a scheme that thrives on trust, distance, and the belief that kindness still counts for something. It's a huge reminder that in the wrong hands, connection can still be the perfect con. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Friday Fraudster podcast. Join them as they discuss sad, funny, and sometimes disturbing fraud stories. Be sure to catch past episodes on your favorite podcasting platform or go to www.fridayfraudster.com.
All right. Hey, people, you heard the introduction. You know what? I'm just going to bring Thomas up.
I don't even get an introduction today, huh?
So, okay, I've been thinking about this one because this one serves as a warning too, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
I don't even know. All right, let me just say this. Today we probably won't have any cheesy jokes or anything like that because I'm floored at what happened. And you notice I'm not even opening with the story or anything like that. This one is just wild on so many different levels. Um, yeah, and I think I just want people to be warned about what is happening, even though it's a recurring theme. This one was, it had parts of an old scam along with parts of a new scam too. A new way to do an old scam, I guess, which just blew my mind. Okay.
No,
Okay.
you're
Let me
right,
just,
and also I do remember this topic that we've talked about it before. There has been one or two of our regular listeners, viewers, that just have to drop off because they've had family members experience the type of fraud we're talking about today. So we get it. We appreciate that. We respect it. It's a tough topic.
yeah. So I'll tell you. Oh, heck, let's just dive right in. So today what we're talking about is a scam where individuals were defrauding the elderly, but when I start talking about it, you're going to realize that it's nothing new, but some parts of it are new.
Yep.
So picture this. There's a bustling call center in Santiago, Dominican Republic, and it's filled with English speakers who, have openers and things that they're supposed to say. And what they're doing is they're calling up the elderly and they're doing the old scam of, hey, I'm your grandson, or hey, I'm your niece, or I'm your nephew, and I'm in trouble and I need help. Now, that is a scam that is as old as time itself. We've seen that time and time again, right? I think I told you all when my grandmother, she just wouldn't have fallen for it. She was too too mean for it. No, just kidding. She wasn't mean, but people would call there all the time asking for me, and she would be like, "If so, okay, let me just back up. You know how you have old friends that remember your old home? My grandmother lived in my childhood home until she passed, and she passed, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So people would come by, hey, have you seen Rob? Where is he? What is he doing? And she would call me, somebody named such and such came to see you, but I don't give them any information. I told them, this is what she would tell them. If you were that important to him, you would have his phone number. He's had the same phone number for years.
I like it. I like your grandma.
So,
Great.
so you know, I, mm, okay, let me ask you, Thomas. Have you
Yep.
ever had anyone, friend or family, get one of those crazy calls that you knew was a scam?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Yeah, myself, but also family members as well. Yeah.
So I'll tell you a story. I was sitting at home one day and I get this call from a friend of the family, an older woman. And she calls and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" She said, "Well, I just want to run something by you." "Yes, ma'am. What do you need?" "I just got a call from Ed McMahon." You guys remember? So for those who don't know, Ed McMahon used to run this thing called Publishers Clearinghouse. And what that was a clearinghouse of all of the magazines. And every year, Ed McMahon would give away $1 million to people throughout the US. And all you had to do was fill out some sort of paperwork with your name and phone number on it. That's it.
It
And
was
so
a
I said,
modern day pop up window. Put in your name, email address, phone number. Yeah, just
there you go. So I said to her, "Well, what did Mr. Ed McMahon say?" Because it was a big deal. What they would do is they would come to your house with a van and they would be full of balloons and they would give you this big life-size check.
Yep.
And she said, "Well, they asked me for my address so that they could know where to come to give me the big check." I said, "Okay, what else did they ask for?" "Well, they also asked for my name and how to spell it correctly so that they could put it on the big check." And I was like, "Okay, what else did they ask for?" She said, "Well, they also asked for," and they asked for a couple more things. And so as I'm talking to her, I said, "I believe that this is a scam." She said, "Well, I thought it might be. So I just asked them for their telephone number and I hung up and I called back."
she's almost there. She almost got it.
So I was a little confused. I said, "Okay, so you asked them for their phone number." So then I said, "Okay, what phone number did they give you?" I looked at the phone number. Um, and then I looked up the phone number for Publishers Clearinghouse. It was obviously two different numbers. And I said, "Ma'am, this is a scam. Don't do it." And she said, "Well, I would hate to miss out on my chance to win millions of dollars. Are you sure that this is a scam? Can you just call them and talk to them?" I said, "I don't need to talk to them. It is a scam."
Yep.
So she asked me again. And so I called them with her on the three-way.
All right.
And first thing I noticed is some sort of Caribbean accent.
That's
So
the
I
first
said,
red flag.
"Right." So I said, "Well, where are you?" And they said, they were in Jamaica. And I said, "Ed McMahon is not in Jamaica." I said, "Where's Ed?" I started playing around. "Where's Ed?"
Uh,
They said, "Well, we will be on the phone with Ed shortly so that we can send him out to her house." I said, "Huh, okay." And so I kept messing with them at that point, and I got them so frustrated they just hung up. So it-
I have known people that whenever a scammer will call, they'll keep just messing with them over the phone. Okay, how do I do? What website do I go to? Like, see how long they'll stay on the phone with them, just totally acting like the dumbest person in the world. The World Wide Web. What W? Do I have to type in HTTP? Just totally dragging it out just to see how long they'll keep going with it. But yeah, it's good. It's good to ask questions. Definitely.
yeah, I find that the more we ask, the more they start to run away. And Stephanie said that she gets scam calls on the daily. You guys are going to want to hold on to this one because we actually have the indictment and stuff with pictures and evidence. This is this is crazy. So okay, so essentially, what they would do is the old scam of, "Hey, your grandson or granddaughter is in trouble," or "I am your grandson or your granddaughter." They would even give the people scripts of what to say. So, for example, let me share my screen and just show you all. So, here's one. And notice the money in the background. This is what they would give to their employees. I'm getting to the employees in 1 minute. You're going to want to hang on for that. So this is one of the scripts. "Hello, grandma or pa. It's me, your grandson." And then it says, "Pause, wait for answer." And then "your oldest grandson" is what you say. That makes sense, right? Because somebody might, anyway, okay. Then and then you say the state that you're in. "I came over because a friend passed away, so I came to pay my respects to the family. After the funeral, we all went to a restaurant. We had dinner. and we did a farewell toast for my friend, and I had 2 glasses of wine. Leaving the restaurant, this lady, out of nowhere, ran a red light, and I ran into her. And when the police came, they gave me a breathalyzer test and said I was over the limit. I was granted a 5-minute call, and I called you because I know you can help. That should be I know. Please promise that you will keep this between us until I get out. I'm ashamed about this, okay? I was arrested and now I'm in jail. I was assigned a public defender. His name is Mark Steven. He says that I can get out today if I post bail, but I cannot post my own bond. I have money in my account, but I cannot get to it. Please need help with my bail. I promise that I will make it up to you when I get out. I love you.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good script. Because you have pause in there, right, for them to respond, and oh, I'm so sorry, and some of that, and I mean it seems like a legitimate conversation, even.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's pretty sick, man. Um, but they got the script down.
Yeah,
They really,
and you can tell they probably worked on that for a while to really, what worked, what hit the heartstrings, right? Where what was the easy scams to pick up on, and then change it a little bit so it wasn't as obvious of a scam. They didn't go to a family member's funeral because grandma would know about a family member's funeral. Now it's a friend's funeral. Yeah, I mean that's you got to give them credit. That's a pretty good one to do, especially to the elderly.
yeah. Well, here's where it gets interesting too. They actually ran the scam out of a call center or out of call centers. And the call centers typically would run out of people's homes in the Dominican Republic. And they actually had legitimate call center software in order, you know how you do your robo dialers that will dial based on a list. So you put in your list and it'll do calls. They ran it like it was a legitimate business. So, for example, here's one of the locations.
Hmm. It was like a front gate and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and in the DR, there's a lot of places that are gated because in
Yeah.
some places the crime is just really
Yep.
bad. But so yeah, so they understood call center operations enough to where they knew how to run it on the back end. They understood the processes, but also they used English speaking people. I couldn't tell if maybe they used English speakers that didn't have accents or had some sort of accent neutralization that they had done, but it was out of call centers.
It.
And
Yeah, yeah. I would guess, yeah, they either had a very neutral accent, so it wasn't easy to pick up, or even had some kind of a technology that they were talking through to kind of either mask it or make their accent sound more like whoever it was they were trying to talk as, since they were trying to pretend to be those relatives.
yeah, and that's what I was wondering. And also too, I mean, the US is a melting pot, and so it wouldn't be that odd to hear somebody else with, a non-native American or American accent on the
Yeah,
other end of the phone.
right.
So,
Now, you talking about call centers, and I mentioned to you whenever we were talking about the story before we went live that this reminded me of a movie, right? Do you know what movie I'm thinking of?
no.
The Beekeeper.
Oh yeah, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
because in The Beekeeper with Jason Statham, fantastic movie, by the way, if you don't mind a little bit of blood and guts. But he's going after these call centers that are scamming mostly senior citizens like this one here. And that was a different type of scam, but it kind of reminded me of that too, having call center set up. And I kind of wish I could call a beekeeper to take care of that, but that's not ethical, so I won't. I won't go down that path.
Right. So okay. So now, so they gave the people openers to use. They also gave them closers to use. But here's where it gets interesting because a lot of times they'll ask for a check or they'll ask for bank account information so that they
Yeah.
can have the money wired in. These individuals obtain the money through cash. most of the time. They got the money in cash from these victims. Now, I know what you're thinking. How in the world did they do that? Here's where it gets really interesting. They used rideshare services and delivery services to get the cash. So you call up an Uber and ask the Uber driver to go get this, or you have a runner, somebody else who is working for you that takes an Uber over to the person's place, because now when the person tries to identify the vehicle, it's an Uber.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really sophisticated in my mind. Like we tell people all the time, don't give out your bank information, and they're not. Like I said, like with the script, there's red flags that they scrubbed out to have a better success rate of this fraud. And now the big one is hey, don't give out your bank information ever. So they took out that one as well. Like I said, this was impressive. They did a good job, doing the scam. As much as I hate to say it.
I'll add another wrinkle to it, because it is my guess that they actually thought that if it was cash, they couldn't be charged with wire fraud.
Could be. Possibly.
Yeah. So now let's show what one of the makeshift call centers look like. So there it is. So imagine someone's home being rearranged so that you could have computers in a row so that people could just call.
I wonder how much those people got paid. Like if they weren't running one themselves, right? How much did they get paid? How much electricity and all of that did that draw into? I
Yeah.
mean, the grid here in Texas, they would notice if you had an illegal call center going, between the electricity, the internet, all of that. I'm a little surprised it wasn't. I don't know how it was caught, but I'm a little surprised it wasn't caught that way.
Ooh, speaking of getting caught, before we even talk about the hows and the whys and all that good stuff, let's talk about how much money and how many individuals and their average age. So there were over 400 elderly victims. The average age was 84, and it's estimated that they lost more than $5 million. And about 50 of the victims were located in Massachusetts alone.
That's a lot of money, and that's sad. That old. And I wonder why Massachusetts. It seems so random to me, because none of the people, the addresses, none of them were in Massachusetts.
Yeah. I think that the crime was based out of Boston, maybe, possibly,
It was
and
New
the
York.
Dominican Republic. Because the Boston FBI is the one that handled it. So yeah, I'm not really sure.
So the headline at the top of the article talks about reportedly scammed hundreds of senior citizens out of millions, including in Massachusetts. So yeah, I guess that because all of the defendants, the addresses that I've been seeing are all New York, I thought. Oh yeah, you're right. There are a few that say Massachusetts. Okay.
Yeah. So they also maintained a scoreboard of their activities. They had openers, closers, the amounts that they were getting. Let's take a look at that. Check this out. See, I might need to make this a little bit bigger. This is a board that they had. So you can see the opener, the closer, the amount of money, $9,500. That is insane. There's a list of some of the people there. Look, this one is just Texas. It's like Texas. Jasmine was doing this one. Mario was closing that one.
Man, they were very proud of what they were doing. They were very proud of how they were getting away with it.
Yeah. Well, what really surprised me though, look here, look at the numbers here. $92,000. Peter closed 92. You know what? Now that I think about it, it is just like the beekeeper, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at this. Peter, $98,000. And they're your days of the week: lunes, martes, lunes,
You're right.
martes.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
and it gets even more interesting though. Okay, I got a couple more things. Okay. So I said that what they would do is they would get these people to agree to give them the money, and then they would go to their houses to get the cash. Well, if they had problems getting the cash, they would start texting the people to get them to come out of the house or do whatever they needed them to do. So if you look at this one, somebody's saying she's old and can't walk like that. If you can be nice and go to the door so she can hand you over the documents. And then this is him talking to one of the closers. The closer is saying, I ringed the door many times, no one inside. Can you call her? He said, yes, give me a sec. And then the closer is saying again, or the runner is saying again, only the dogs are barking. So they're communicating with one another like, hey, I'm at the house, can't get in. You need to call her and tell her to give me the money.
Yeah.
And now Carol, what is Carol? Carol is saying they had said the victims were all across the entire United States, from California to New York to Florida, all over.
I believe it. They were bold.
And she said they had also said the victims were contacted more than once. Yeah. I remember seeing that too.
Yeah.
I mean, they just ooh.
Yeah. The details so far that I've seen is 400 victims. At least 50 of them were in Massachusetts, but over 300 then were scattered all across the United States.
Yeah. And here's one of our guys here flashing his money.
Yeah.
So that's one of
The
them.
one where he had like it stacked up his arm. You see that picture?
Oh wait, I don't know if. Oh yeah. I saw that one. Here it comes.
Yeah. Yep. Man.
So I said earlier that they would get these lists. I don't know where they got the list from, but they would get Excel listings of people. And here's an example of one of the lists. You can see here it says New Hampshire and Maine, XLSX. So that's the Excel file. And it says, yeah, so there's the Excel file for that one. There's even correspondence of them calling the victims, I forgot, fresh meat, calling them fresh meat whenever they got a list uploaded into their system. So they use commercial telemarketing software and organize the list of elderly victims, and then they track the call activity. Now, it says that they purchased a list of information about the elderly victims and others in the Dominican Republic. I'm guessing dark web.
Well, you have the dark web, but also, we've sponsored conferences before, and even the conferences I don't sponsor, I normally get some kind of third party sending an email saying, hey, would you like to buy the list of conference attendees? So, something like that, would you like to buy a list of all of the new senior citizens in these senior citizen homes, right? Or, who just bought a house or who just sold a house. I mean, there are so many different ways they could get that information. So I'm sure someone there somewhere is just selling a list of people that has that demographic.
Yeah. Okay, let me go back for a minute too. So they use VoIP lines, voice over internet protocol, to make the calls appear as though they originated from numbers in the States. Now, I said they had openers and closers and runners, but I didn't really explain that well enough, right? So the openers were the people in the call centers who originally impersonated the grandchildren that were in trouble. The closers impersonated attorneys for the grandchildren and directed victims to send or deliver the cash to aid the grandchildren. And the runners were the guys who went and picked up the cash. So as you can see, this was a sophisticated network. And I guess looking at those numbers, though, they were pulling in six figures a week, a day sometimes, you know?
Yeah, and that's where, like, yeah, right. Again, those red flags you normally have. Oh, your lawyer says you need to do this and that. Let me talk to the lawyer. Yeah, and normally the scammers, hang up and you don't hear from them again. Now it's okay. Let me have them call you, and yeah, they have someone set up for that. Oh, not the bank account. Okay, well, we'll do cash. Don't worry, I have somebody that can come pick that up.
Yep.
It's impressive.
They really reduced the resistance barriers, and so they lived a fairly lavish lifestyle. They had boats and stuff. Those boats got confiscated. There's one boat. Here they are partying it up on another boat.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did a really good job of breaking down the resistance barriers. Every
Yeah.
time you had a resistance, they said, "Hey, here you go." You know what it reminded me of is there's a lot here that they did that legitimate businesses would do way back in the day. So way, way, way back in the day, you remember a company called Olin Mills?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So yeah. So I used to work for Olin Mills as a call person, doing outbound calls.
Yep.
We got lists from hospitals of women who had just had babies, and we called them up to try to get them to purchase a portrait package from us.
Nice. Yep.
And the way that it worked is if somebody said yes, you would get their address, and then you would send the courier out to pick up the check. Because this was back before, this was way, I'm old, right?
There was no internet yet. Yep.
Yeah, well, we did everything on stone tablets back then because I'm a little old, right? So it reminds me of that. And if these people are that old, they remember when you would just purchase stuff on the phone and somebody would come to your home and pick up the cash or the check.
True.
So
Olin Mills. I haven't heard that name in such a long time.
man, it was a long time ago. Stephanie says list for sale for everything. I highly recommend LifeLock. The dark web alerts. There are dark web alerts. Yeah. I had LifeLock at one point. Now I think I have something similar. I can't remember what it is, but yeah.
But to be honest, every time I get a notification, oh, your name is on such and such list, I'm like, yeah, it's on all the lists. And I know that's terrible, and yes, I have those notifications. I have a subscription myself too. So you're right. We should be paying attention to that. But there are so many that come up and like, yeah, I know. Just like, I think it's my car insurance company. Every time I log in, I get the warning from Chrome. Hey, this password's probably been, stolen. Like, yeah.
Wait,
okay.
why haven't you changed it?
Hey, if you want to log in and pay my car insurance bill. But
okay, true.
I don't use the same password for everything though. A lot of times I use the auto generator stuff. So that's why I'm not as paranoid about it. But yeah, LifeLock is a good solution there.
It is that, and also on the other end, freezing your credit report. So yeah, this just really so it was simple yet somewhat sophisticated at the same time, right? Because
well, it's one of those that we come across so many of the dumb ones, right? That oh, I'm gonna steal $1,000 from my employer over the weekend, and the employer goes in and checks their bank account on Monday morning. They're like, why are these fraudulent charges on my card? So there are some of those you look at, you're like, how stupid can you be? So I got to give these guys credit. They at least thought through of, okay, what are the normal red flags? Let's not do those. So I got to give them credit there. So yeah, it's impressive.
But it gets even more interesting though.
Of course it does.
So
it's 2:30. It's time for it to get more interesting.
with the banks, they had multiple bank accounts, but they also knew what the bank limits were, so they structured the deposits so as not to get caught too. Yeah. Because what is it with cash? You have to fill out a currency transaction report, a CTR, if it's over 5,000 or 8,000. Somebody's going to correct me now. Whatever the number is.
10,000. Christine could tell you off the top of her, immediately.
Yeah, I know, right?
think it's around 10,000, but yeah, you're right.
But yeah, so they structured the deposits to avoid that too. So that's pretty interesting.
It is.
Um, let's see what else was pretty um trying to think. Oh. So for the runners, they also managed to secure fake identification documents for them. So think about this. For your runners, thank you, Carol. Carol said $10,001. Yeah.
All right.
And I didn't know that. I was a bank teller back in the day. How do I not know that? Because it's been that number forever, right?
I was gonna say,
But
but back in the day, $5 was worth like $50 now, or back then, right? So
it really was. Dude. But so for the runners, think about this. The runners would take ride shares over to the victims' homes, and they even had fake identities for the runners. So they made it difficult for you to track the runners. And when you think about it too, you got a bunch of old people, they probably weren't paying attention to who was at the door. So being able to identify them, they probably couldn't do that either.
yeah, absolutely not. Grandma who came by, I don't know, some guy, or Bob. Look at what was the name of the fake lawyer? It was like Matt Stevens or something like that. Very believable, but very generic name. So even if they remember the name, that's not helpful, to anybody. So yeah, I wonder. I wonder how many of these senior citizens have like a Ring camera or something like that, where you could have at least had a video, some kind of picture ID of them.
Yeah. Now that would actually be really, really cool. I'm actually thinking about getting one for my mom. So yeah. So of the people that were arrested, only one is a naturalized US citizen. Well, I guess not anymore, huh? And another one is a lawful permanent resident, probably not anymore, but the rest were citizens of the Dominican Republic.
You get a few boots on the ground here in the States, and you do everything else overseas.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Um, yeah.
How's the how are the like extradite? Do we have any kind of non-extradite or anything like that with Dominican? I don't think we do. Is there?
I don't think so. You know what though? There's an easy way to find out. Uh, let's see.
You can AI it.
Yeah. So, the United States does have an extradition treaty with the Dominican Republic. The treaty was originally signed in 1909, entered into force into 1910, and
Hmm.
has been supplemented by later agreements. And here's what it does. It allows for extradition of individuals charged with or convicted of crimes that are recognized as offenses in both countries. So that's known as dual criminality.
Okay.
So in this particular case, let's see, there needs to be a formal request from the U.S. through diplomatic channels. And then there's a review by the Dominican courts to ensure that the request meets the treaty requirements. Then there's a final decision by Dominican authorities. They can refuse extradition.
Yeah.
They can. On this, I don't think they
Not
are.
uncommon in those treaties, though. I remember seeing that before.
Yeah. And so, so now let's talk about what they were charged with, though. That gets
You know what? But
kind of
before you hit the charge with someone had mentioned that they like would contact the victims multiple times. If that doesn't get you sick enough, I did find one sentence that I don't think we had hit yet. Uh, Said yes. Sometimes the call center would call the victims again and ask for additional funds. He said, for example, callers allegedly would claim that there had been a mix-up or that a pregnant woman's baby was lost in the crash.
Wow.
That's a new kind of sickness right there.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, mm. Yeah. What was
Oh
that
wow.
beekeeper again? Uh,
Wow.
yeah, that's that. Okay, so moving back on to
Ooh. Okay. So the charges: conspiracy to commit mail fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering. Now, those were the main counts for most of the 13. One individual was charged with only money laundering conspiracy. And now here's why these specific charges actually apply. So there's mail fraud under 18 USC 1341, that's the US code. So even though much of the fraud was over the phone, some victims sent or received materials through the mail or via delivery services, which counts under the mail fraud statute. Now, wire fraud, the scam did rely heavily on interstate and international phone calls, also text and app communications, which satisfy the wire requirement. A lot of people think wire is just wiring money, but it actually includes telephonic communications. And then the money laundering, obviously, the collected cash was deposited into US bank accounts and then transferred to accounts in the Dominican Republic, which constitutes laundering the proceeds of an illegal activity. And so now with the penalties or potential penalties, mail and wire fraud is 20 years, up to 20 years, sorry, and up to $250,000 fine or twice the loss caused. Could you imagine that? Because that'd be what, like 8 million? Didn't we say 4 was gone or something like that? And then up to 3 years of supervised release. Money laundering conspiracy is 20 years, up to $500,000 or twice the value of the funds laundered in 3 years, up to 3 years on supervised release.
I don't know. Sometimes it almost feels like that's not enough.
Yeah. And Stephanie hits it. Yeah, scam compounds, billions in revenue each year. Yeah. But I think with this one, when I saw it, I was thinking to myself, just when you thought it couldn't get any more interesting as to how they could do it, because again, this one was so simple, yet kind of complex at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's what is it? There's no. I can't even think of the term now, but it's like whenever you're talking about writing a new book or new story, it's like there's no new stories. Like it's all been told. You think that about fraud, but here it is with something similar. Oh,
Okay. So this is Kay, and this makes a
yeah.
lot of sense. It She said, just got off a call with an agent regarding her mom's case. There seems to be an uptick of cases of elderly people contacted by scammers while they are in senior living centers, claiming to be their close friend or family, getting financial transactions completed. Have friends or family only on a list that allow access. Ah, okay.
All
That
right.
makes sense. Yeah, yeah. When they're in the facility, have a list of people who are allowed to be able to contact them.
Yeah. I wonder. So my kids, whenever I've got two teenagers, and whenever they turn 13 is when we allowed them to get cell phones. But we use the restriction to where
Right.
they could only have contacts, or they can only be called and texted by people who are their contacts, and
Yep.
we controlled who their contacts were. So that I feel like that's another way, if they're not in a senior home or if they have a cell phone, anywhere, trying to get something like that to where they can only receive calls from their contacts. That way they can't get these scam calls, and not just scam calls, but also all the sales calls and all the other junk that comes in.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, yeah. Now, I will say that that's a really good tip from you and from Kay as well,
Yeah.
because um it- I think going directly to the senior living facility in mass is probably new. Historically they would do it one on one. Remember that movie where the lady was going to senior facilities and she would make friends with one person and it was the long game. But now
Yeah.
They're doing it in mass because people have cell phones. Yeah. That makes sense too. Need a safe word. Yeah.
Yeah. True.
100% need a safe word with people. Yeah.
I kind of wonder the only trick part about this. So I don't know about you, but I didn't call, or I mean, one set of my grandparents are still alive, but I didn't call them by like their name, right? And one set were actually Granny and Grandpa, but the other two are not. They have a different name, childhood name that we came up with. But so I kind of wonder, how did they come up with, like, how did they get past that part? Because not everybody calls their grandmother or grandfather something different. So I'm curious how they figured that part out.
Oh, you know what that was? When there was a sense of urgency that was created, the grandparent didn't even think about that.
Of course, I'm also kind of answering my own question. Instead of saying "Hi, Grandma," it's such and such. You just say, "Hey, it's such and such." You don't even
Right.
call use their name. Yep.
Oh, now this is interesting. They even show up at senior facilities as Medicare agents. They are not agents. Oh, wow. Wow. That's a whole new level of just dastardly dirty and just,
Yeah, it is.
wow.
It's
Huh. Interesting. So, yeah, now this is a good point. Stephanie is saying could be
yeah.
because the healthcare insurance company data breaches as well. Yeah. So those breaches happen a lot, and you can, depending on exactly what's breached, you can get a lot about a person. You would even know their doctor's name, right? Because you'd be able to say, "Hey, I saw you at Doctor Such and Such," or "Hey, I'm the nurse at Doctor Such and Such. Let's talk." And oh wow,
Didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's a great point.
yeeks. That is that's scary on a whole nother level, man. That's
Now,
really
I
scary.
have a client who is a large scale printing company for health insurance companies, the health industry. And they actually have a SOC 2 Type 2 report that covers their data security. And they even have their mailing, the part of their mailing center is actually in a secure center also to help prevent any kind of breaches like this. So, yeah, there's so many different ways to get information. It's interesting. Oh, random. Yep.
Okay,
There's
now
one.
this one somebody's gonna have to explain to me. They also need to be careful of a random notary visiting. Okay, I understand the angst with the notary, right? Because you could have a document that gets, never mind, I'm answering my own question. Yeah, you could have a document that gets notarized by somebody. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. Oh
Yep.
wow. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even think about that one. Oh wow. I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's probably the most dangerous one because you could get somebody's home, you could get power of attorney, you could, oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh, oh.
I just want to die when I hit like 60.
Well, I don't know about that. That's not that old. I'm not that far away from that.
Well,
That's too
I
low of
almost
a
said 50. I
number.
was like, wait, that's right around the corner. Nope, let's add 10 years to it.
That's too low of a number. I'm literally like only a few years away from that. Like a
Okay, okay,
handful,
okay.
a
65.
small handful. Yeesh. Like a few more years. Just in case she says bingo dangerous. Yeah, did you see the wheels turning, K? Did you see the smoke coming from my head? Never even thought of that one. Yeah. Holy. Wow.
Yeah.
That's bad. Well, all right. Anything else on today's topic, Thomas? Anybody else in
No,
the audience?
it's sad. It's sick. Try
So
to.
I'm gonna say what I say all the time then. Call your
Yep.
grandparents.
Yep.
Call your grandparents. Seriously. I used to call mine all the time. Heck, I just did. And I'm glad I actually got to know both of mine on both sides. I even when I was a kid, even I still had a great grandmother around too when I was young.
Yep. I had a great grandmother. In fact, I have one set of grandparents still alive, so my kids have great grandparents and have had them for I mean, my son is 16, almost 17 now, so he's going to remember them. So it's a blessing.
Yeah, yeah. Call your people. Call your people. Kay says thanks for getting the message out. Yeah, Kay, we just got straight to it today. Well, all right, folks. Thank you for joining us this week on the Friday Fraudster. We'll see you next week.
Have a great weekend.